Today we're going to be watching Top 10 Scary Scottish Mysteries. Welcome to Mr. Giant Reacts, a Tig, a Tig, and Ting. I'm Mr. Giant, and let's get straight into this video and see what those mysteries are.
Hello and welcome back to the most amazing channel on the internet. I am your host Rebecca Felgate, and today I'm talking about the top 10 scary Scottish mysteries. Ooh. Now this is a great time of year for a Scottish mystery. It's winter, it's around Burns Night, so huddle round the fire with a wee drum
Burns
and
Night?
listen to
What's
our
Burns
eerie
Night?
tales. Before I get into them though, I want to ask you guys if you have ever been to Scotland, or if you haven't, would you like to go? I have a number of times. It's honestly one of my favourite places in the world, especially Ullapool and Edinburgh. Do leave me a comment in the comment section down below, and also while you're down there, why don't you like and share this video? Also, if you look in our description box, we've got links to Instagram, so check them out. Also, do stick around to the end of the video where I'll be answering some comments from a previous list. Alright, coming in at number 10, we have the death of Annie Bjorsen. Annie was a 30-year-old Swedish woman who was found washed up on the coast of Prestwick, West Scotland in December 2005. Police ruled the death suicide by self-drowning, but the majority of the people out there who have looked into the case absolutely do not agree. There is some truly weird factors surrounding the last day of her life that simply can't be ignored. For one, Annie lived in Edinburgh and travelled 80 miles to Prestwick Airport where she tried to withdraw cash, but her bank card was declined. She was seen acting suspiciously on airport CCTV, appearing to run across the terminal. She looked distressed and confused. She then made her way to the town, but what happened to her there is unknown. During her autopsy, coroners found bruises on her body that appeared to have been inflicted while she was still alive. After she was found, her hair was cut and thrown away, which really isn't normal practice. Authorities seem reluctant to provide forensic examinations into her death, and when her family logged into her email, they saw that all of her messages had been deleted, as too had her entire 2005 phone records. Family members then themselves started experiencing internet interruptions when they logged onto their own emails, and they were on the receiving end of silent calls. In 2013, Scottish Parliament were presented with 3,000 signatures of those wanting a full and further investigation. Coming into number 9, we have Gilmerton Cove. In the village of Gilmerton, now a suburb of Edinburgh around 4 miles away from the city centre, there is a cottage hiding a pretty big secret. From the outside, the house is unassuming, but inside the cottage is the entrance to a network of tunnels, passageways and chambers that expand underneath the village, and nobody really knows why they're there or indeed who built them. The theories of course do include the occult, the suggestion it could have been a hideaway for witches on trial. Others say it could have been an illegal drinking den. Wilder theories, of course, say murder. A murder passage for murderers. Who knows? Coming into number...
Now, it seems like every country have tales of passages on the cities and on the towns and, you know, the mysteries behind them and why they were there. As a matter of fact, in my country, it's purported that there's an underground tunnel that runs under the city and goes all the way to the other side of the city, coming up somewhere near to where the National Stadium is. I've heard about it. Of course, it's my dad that told me a lot of these stories because he was a policeman. The tunnels begin, or one of the entrances to the tunnel is underneath the old fort built by the British back in like the 1700s. And I remember my dad telling me that he tried to go down there one night, but at that time one of the tunnels had caved in and he couldn't go any further. His story, of course. My dad's always had tall tales, you know what I mean? But yeah, he told me about that tunnels there, and he wasn't the only one that I've heard about it. I've had historians tell me about these tunnels underneath the city, that runs underneath the city down there. Let's get back to this video here.
We have the Lighthouse Keepers. Among the remote Outer Hebrides off the west coast of Scotland, there is an even more remote collection of islands called the Flannan Islands. Now on these islands sits the lighthouse of Eilean Mor. The islands were named after an Irish bishop who built a chapel there, but would famously never stay there at night, fearful of the old Scottish spirits that haunt the lands. The area was so remote and uninhabited at the turn of the 20th century that only the lighthouse keepers lived there. On the frosty Boxing Day night of the year 1900, a ship was arriving to bring a new lighthouse keeper to join the three already living there. As they came to shore, they were surprised to see that there was no light coming from the lighthouse. When they went to investigate, they couldn't see any signs of the other lighthouse keepers. They were, however, confronted with a very strange scene. Meals were half eaten in the kitchen, and a chair had been upturned as if the inhabitants had fled very quickly. Dramatically, it also seemed as if the clock in the room had stopped. It was assumed that the other people had been blown off cliffs in a storm and drowned, but their bodies had never been found. It doesn't explain the half-eaten meals as well. And the clock was like, what's going on here? Coming in at number 7, we have the Pictish stones. Stones have been uncovered across Scotland, revealing an ancient civilization called the Picts. Now, these people lived in Scotland between 300 and 843 AD. The stones displayed symbols, which at first historians and archaeologists alike thought were just simple symbology, but it seems that actually they're an ancient language, a bit like Egyptian hieroglyphics. At the moment, we have absolutely no idea what the stones are telling us, but a team of language experts are working on deciphering the code. What it might reveal, we simply don't know. It could be terrifying.
See, this is the kind of things that makes places like Scotland so intriguing to me. You know what I mean? I would love to visit that place, and I can't decipher what those writings or communication tools are telling us. Wouldn't it be really cool for them to decipher that, see what those people are saying? And wouldn't it be really cool? It's just a tale of the day-to-day life that we can learn about. It seems like every time we see hieroglyphics and all that stuff, we think of something mystical going on. But what if it's just ordinary people speaking of their ordinary day life? Something we could learn more about the human race before all this technology, before all this, modernization and industrialization and stuff like that. But we could learn about how they lived. And a lot of people might say how they live is not going to help us now. Maybe technologically speaking, it might not. But as far as community is concerned, I think we could learn a lot from them and how they orchestrated the community, you know what I mean? Was it peaceful? How they maintained the peace? If there was war, why were there war? And how we could stop that type of a mentality from fomenting and becoming the wars that we see today. You know, somebody said that we live in one of the most peaceful times and stuff like that. But is it really peace? We live in fear because we have the nuclear stuff. It's not really peace when you live in fear. Is it now? Let's get back to the story, to the video here and thing.
Number 6, we have the unknown ship. High up in the remote Scottish Highlands is the village of Drumburg. The coastline is rugged but regularly used for fishing. In the 1900s, fishermen found an old sunken ship, although there are no historical records of a ship ever floundering in this area. The wreck is thought to be hundreds of years old, and only a wooden hull and 3 cannons remain. The wreck can't be raised for further examination because researchers are concerned it would disintegrate. As a result, we're simply left to wonder what happened. Coupled with the many reports of ghosts haunting the cliffs of the West Highlands, we can only imagine what perilous end the ship came to. We have a mid-list treat right here. One of the more...
Now, coming from the islands, you'd think I'd have tales of mysterious ships floating by and all of that. I've never really heard any stories about mysterious ships on the island. I don't know if it's lack of good records or anything like that, but I never remember a story of a ghost ship. Now, there was one ship that sank as it was leaving the harbor. And now, this is a story I was told, but I think my mom used to call the ship Bianca. I think that's what it was called. I'll have to take another look and see what, but I do believe it's Bianca. And it's as you're leaving the natural harbor and then going out into the ocean, there's a statue right there. And commemorating the people that died there. And I do believe this happened like in the 40s or the 50s. and it was a shipload of people purportedly on their way to England, and it sank there, and quite a few people died. I don't know the numbers. I've never had the numbers and stuff. I tell you, once I go back home, I shall film that statue if it's still in place. Probably take a little boat out there closer to it and thing, and show you guys what I'm talking about. But that there is the only story of a ship that may have yielded ghosts and stuff on the island there. Let's get back to the video.
Famous of our mysteries. At number 5, we have our mate, the Loch Ness Monster. This is one of the most enduring Scottish
Everybody
mysteries
knows
of
that.
them all. How could we fail to mention this
Oh,
one?
yeah.
So the mystery of the Loch Ness Monster has been one of the most famous Scottish urban legends of all time. Everyone around the world has heard of the Loch Ness Monster. Now, Loch Ness is a body of water between Fort William and Inverness in Scotland, and it has long been the site of otherworldly discussion. Before the enduring legend of the Loch Ness Monster began, people thought that the water was home to otherworldly mysteries. Indeed, a monster was sighted in the area in 565 AD. The legend became truly popular in the 1930s with a slew of sightings and, of course, the infamous Sturgeon's photograph of Nessie. In 1938, Nessie was allegedly caught on film, and in 1954 detected by sonar. Over the past 90 years, there have been a vast number of sightings, but of course, there is no irrefutable proof. Nonetheless, people are convinced that there is something living in the lake. Is there a wider mystery here, or is the legend of Nessie just a story made up for the tourists? Coming into number 4, we have Peter Gibb and the Mull Plain mystery. On Christmas Eve of 1975, 55-year-old Peter Gibb and his 32-year-old girlfriend Felicity Granger were dining on the Scottish island of Mull. After dinner, Gibb abruptly decided that he would fly his plane in the dark. Now, this was following a particularly boozy session, so it was somewhat ill-advised. Granger held torches for Gibb as he took off in his Cessna plane. Now, this was against the better advice of his fellow dining partners. Some swear they saw a second person holding a torch with Granger on the runway, although she claims she was the only one there guiding the plane. Gibbs took off, and sadly, he never returned. His body was found 4 months later on a nearby hillside, but it had already been searched for his body in the months prior. The autopsy suggested that he died of exposure to the elements. He wasn't injured, save for a small cut on his leg. His plane was nowhere to be seen, which was really strange indeed, because the way he was found suggested that actually he managed to successfully land the plane rather than crash it. Fast forward 11 years, and a plane matching his description was found in the sea between Mull and mainland Scotland. But this plane had crashed very, very hard. He would likely have died on impact or been seriously injured. And also, it was in the ocean. Gibb didn't have a parachute, so jumping out of the plane would have been a death wish. There are a lot of unanswered questions here, and a number of people absolutely suspect foul play. For now, though, it's still a mystery. Coming into number 3, we have Bible John. Scotland had their very own Zodiac-style killer in the 1960s, and we are still none the wiser as to the identity of the murderer today. The killer picked young women between the ages of 25 and 32 at the Barrowland Ballroom in Glasgow, Scotland. The murderer took 3 victims after dancing with them at the ballroom. The final victim, Helen Paddock, had introduced a strange man to her sister, who had claimed to be her dance partner. Now, Bible John got his nickname as Helen's sister Jean said that her companion had been called John, and he cited verses from the Old Testament. He also referred to Glasgow as an adulterous den of iniquity. So, pretty dramatic. He was profiled as being around 5'10", a sharpish dresser with red hair between the ages of 25 to 30. Sadly, he's never been found. Coming into number 2, we have the miniature coffins of Arthur's Seat. It was the summer of 1836 when a group of young lads were out hunting rabbits. A small cave captured their attention and they decided to investigate. However, instead of finding rabbits for supper, they found 17 3.7-inch coffins arranged in rows. Curiosity overtook the boys and they decided to look inside the tiny coffins. Inside, they found 17 dressed wooden dolls with open eyes staring back at them. The boys told locals about their findings, and interest in the mysterious tombs grew. From investigation, it seems like the coffins had been placed at different intervals in time over the past few years. The media started calling them the fairy coffins, and rumours as to their purpose went wild. Some people said that they were memorials for murder victims, but the most popular rumour was witchcraft. The Scotsman, the oldest and most famous newspaper in Scotland at the time, wrote, "Our own opinion would be, had we not some years ago abjured witchcraft and demonology, that there are still some of the weird sisters hovering around the cairn of Windy Gowl. They may retain their ancient power to work the spells of death by entombing the likeness of those they wish to destroy." Pretty freaky. To this day, we still don't know who put them there and what purpose they served. Finally, coming in at number 1 of our scary Scottish mysteries, we have the Glasgow effect. Also known as the Riddle of Clyde, the Glasgow effect refers to a baffling mortality rate in the Scottish city. Let me put it this way. Average life expectancy in war-torn Iraq is 67 years old. In North Korea, it's 71, but in Glasgow city centre, it's just 54 years of age. Glasgow has the lowest average death age of the UK, and indeed wider Europe. The statistics have often been pegged down to poverty, which increases the likelihood of smoking, drugs and alcohol abuse. However, there are other similar areas of Great Britain with similar levels of poverty, yet people on average are living 15 years longer or more. Now, research is still rendering more questions, and we still aren't sure why people in Glasgow are dying so much younger than people who live in war zones. What's going on? So guys, that was the top 10 Scottish mysteries. What did you think to this list?
Quite interesting. Not as historically based as I usually do, but like she said, it's winter. In America here, Halloween is coming up, and I thought, hey, why not? I'm going to put up a video of these vibes, you know what I mean? Just to lighten it up. I'm coming off my vacation and thing, you know what I mean? I just want to watch something. I hope you guys enjoy this with me. I'll leave a link in the description to this video, you know, as usual. And I tell you what, comment down below of mysteries that you've heard of in your country, you know what I mean? Wherever you are in America or all over the world, hit me up with some mysteries in the comment section, you know, and let's share some stories and things like that, you understand? And I'll also put up some videos here, you know, that you go check it out, you know, things like facts about Scotland, you know, places to visit in Scotland and stuff like that. I'll leave a link to those there, so for those of you who want to, you know, check the vibe out, go ahead and check it out, you know what I mean? Listen, man, I hope you guys are doing okay. I know I'm quite relaxed. Can't say I'm ready to go back to work yet, but I am relaxed. You all take care of each other, all right? Cool runnings.